my Maestro of the Gaming channel with a difference. Okay guys, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be talking today about philosophy. Okay, it's one of those subjects where philosophy means love of wisdom. Okay, philosophy is a love of wisdom, and I've had this love of wisdom and questioning ever since I was 4 years old. I've had this this thing where I was always one of those children that said, I asked the question why to everything. I never took anything for granted, and people would look at me like, why'd you care? You know, why'd you care that why is the sky blue? Why? Who are we? You know, those questions. Who we still ask today. We still wonder about them. Okay, and that's why it's an enormous fascination to me. It's absolutely amazing. Most people, at some point in their life, would ask, "What's it all about? What's this? What's the human life all about? What's our purpose? Why are we here?" Etc. etc. Okay, so what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to give you a little insight into philosophy and what the principles for what I'm interested in, my branch of philosophy that I study, and what I'm interested in. Okay, so let's take the principle first of all, the Chinese Buddhist philosophy, which is Yin and Yang. Okay, now Yin and Yang, most people think of a symbol, which is a round circle with a split that sort of curved split that comes through the middle, and in each of the splits between the two spheres is one's a black split and the other one is a white split, and in the white split there's a black eye, and in the black split there is a white eye. And what this means is it has an in-depth meaning to it, in the sense that most people think that it's just basically opposites. Okay, everything in the universe is positive and negative. Okay, which is fair enough, but it runs deeper than that. There are two things to think about when we think about the Yin and Yang symbol. Okay, the first thing is you can look at the symbol in an explicit way. So explicitly, okay, black is different than white. Okay, dark is different than light, up is different from down, negative is different from positive, etc. etc. Okay, so that's one way of looking at it in an explicit way. Okay, explicitly, it's the most obvious way, if you like. Okay, that's how people look at it. Now, from an esoteric standpoint, an esoteric means like a hidden knowledge of the subject, that or a hidden specialization of a knowledge of a subject that a certain group of people know about. Okay, so esoterically or implicitly, these two colours, these two symbols, these two halves of the dome or the sphere are actually the same. Okay, so they're unified together. And how I'm going to demonstrate that is, if you take a white piece of paper, a white blank piece of paper, okay, and you put an object on that paper. Okay, if the object is white, so you've got a white dot on a white background, so a white dot on a white piece of paper, you ain't going to see the white dot. Okay, so you need a black dot and a white background so you can see the black dot. So the white background implies, okay, implicitly implies the black dot. So you need the white background to have the black dot, and vice versa. So if you had a black background and a black dot, say I had a black piece of paper and I put a black ink pen mark on that black piece of paper, you wouldn't see the black dot. So what this means is that you need a white dot on a black piece of paper. So then white would imply black, or black would imply white. Okay, so they actually go together, and that's the secret pretty much of everything in the universe. So everything is opposite to each other. There are so many opposites within the universe, within our world and how it operates, but they actually go together. There's a unity there. It's like an implicit unity between the two things. Okay, so say for example you take a magnet and it's got a negative and a positive pole. If you cut the magnet in half, then you also get two more poles. You get a negative and a positive. You don't cut it in half, two negatives. It becomes a new positive and negative. So in this way, it's interesting because everything has to have the negative and positive principles. So this straight away, this raises questions, okay, and it raises kind of like a way of understanding things. So a philosopher naturally would look at all sides of the argument. Okay, if someone's arguing about something, let's say the existence of God. Some people say, like the Christians or the Muslims would say, God is real, God is a creator, God is real. Okay, The world was created by God. Now, an atheist, an agnostic, anyone who doesn't necessarily believe that's true, would say, no, you're lying. It's not true. God is not real. Okay, but actually, for them to say that God is true or not true, you actually need the other one to realize that. So the Christian who believes in God needs the atheist that doesn't believe in God to realize that of what he believes. That's the belief of the theory anyway. So to actually have one thing, you have to have the other. So let's take another example. Let's take good and evil, for example. Some people say, okay, I wish there was less evil in the world. I wish there was less badness in the world. Okay, so define what is bad. What is bad in the world? It's hard to do that because, say for example, the good people and the people know the good. They only know they're good because of the bad people. Otherwise, if we had a world of good people, we would all be good, and then such thing wouldn't exist. It wouldn't be good. It's only good in comparison to bad. Okay, so good is only comparison. Good, being good and doing good things is only comparative and only available to be recognized as that through the badness of things. Okay, if you live in a nice house and you're a nice person with a nice lawn and you look after your gardening and you do all the right things, make all the right moves, look after your children, educate children, etc., etc., we do all the things that are socially acceptable in our world. You only know that you're a good citizen that you do that because there are drug dealers or a bad group of people, what you class as a bad group of people, on the other side of the street. Okay, and the bad people know that they're bad, or they know they won't call themselves bad. They might say they're a bit wild. They don't care about things. They don't care about the law and social status, etc. They only know about that because of the good people. So they need each other. So even though they're completely different, you've got the good people on one side of the fence and you've got the bad people on the other side of the fence. Implicitly, they're the same because they need each other to identify who they are. So if someone says to you, for example, I wish there was less evil in the world, or I wish there was less bad people in the world, well, you don't really, because if you do that, okay, if you define those people as bad, then how would you know you was good? Because even in a section of good people, there would be people who were more good than other people. So there would always be a section of bad people, even within a good group. So that might be one argument, you see. So there's always going to be, if you're playing the one-up game, basically there's always going to be a group of better people than less better people or less good people, if you know what I'm trying to say. So this is an important feature in the universe, and it's all about perceptions. It's all about how you perceive something. So if you're a Christian or you're a Muslim and you say the Quran or the Bible is real, everything is written and I'm taking it literally and everything's real, if you say that, then you've indoctrinated in your mind, your perceptions are correct. So anyone who says the Bible is not real and I don't believe in it, then they're bad people, and they don't believe, they're non-believers. So you've immediately associated their non-belief system that's different than yours with bad. Okay, but it's all a game, really, when you think about it, because it doesn't really matter, does it? Because you need, in life, the world needs a balance. The same as in your bloodstream or in your body, you have good bacteria and you have bad bacteria. Okay, the bad bacteria is always going to be there from things that you put in your mouth, like it could be something dirty you put in your mouth, and you're always going to have that bad bacteria there, but you're always going to have that good bacteria to fight it off. But without the bad bacteria coming into the body, your good bacteria in your body that protect you, like the leukocytes and the white blood cells, they wouldn't have anything to fight against, so they wouldn't be good bacteria. So they need the bad, to initiate their process, to initiate their job, basically. So this is an interesting thing, from a philosopher's point of view. Not only can you look at everything in two ways, or a number of ways. Basically, you can reason through logic and understanding. You can see two sides of the story, and there's two sides of the story in everything. If you want to just think like that, and you want to think, this is good, and I know it's good, and I know what I know, and blah blah blah. You're not open to suggestion. You're not open to learning new things, and you're never gonna, in my opinion, you're never gonna grow, because you're so set in your dogmatic thinking, in your dogmatic ways, that you've got no room for growth. You've already made your mind up. Like years ago, many years ago, people thought the world was flat. Okay, and the only way that, say, I knew the world was round, but everybody knew the world was flat. The only way I could convince you that the world wasn't flat and it was round was to take you in the straight line, obviously not deviating off the course of the route, but taking a straight line. Say you take a straight line west or east or whichever. You continue along that line until you come back to where you started, and you'll realise there's no edge to the world. And obviously squares or a flat world would have an edge where you'll fall off. Through reductio ad absurdum, by reducing the possibility of that actually the world being flat, by doing that you show the person that, you break the illusion and you show the person the world is round. And it's the same with everything. Like everything in the world, obviously we all know the world is round and we all accept that view. But let's say I had a new view, okay? Say I had a new view, a new interest in philosophy, that technology was bad, okay? And bad in the sense of, I mean, it's a broad statement, that, because a lot of technology like medicine, such etc., can be good, but that can also be argued two ways. But we'll go into that in a bit. So, say I said technology, the increase in technology is not a good thing. Okay, someone might argue that and say, well, the reason why you're recording this video is because you have technology. Okay, so I can't say, hand on my heart, that technology is bad. I might say that, in my humble opinion, I think that the advance in technology at the speed we're going is not a good idea, and it's not very good, because all this technology, this is my proposition to you, takes us away from normal family everyday activities. When I was growing up, we had a black and white TV. I was born in 1982. We had a black and white TV. We had to hit it on the top to get the picture decent, and we had 4 channels, and most of the rubbish on telly wasn't worth watching anyway. But we watched it, in our spare time. Any spare time we got, we watched a bit of TV, okay? But it wasn't the be-all and end-all. We didn't have iPads, we didn't have internet, okay? We didn't have all these things, okay? So instead of doing that, we would go out making dens. We would go out walking in the woods. We would go out doing things, okay? Going walking, climbing, spending time with friends. Quality time with friends. Now, in this day and age, it's nearly 2015, let's say 2015, okay? Because what we're doing is, we have these iPads and these devices, and they actually take us out of the social circle a little bit, because we spend a lot of time on them, and we neglect the actual spending time together, going walking, going camping, going hiking, doing all the things, the family activities that were valued so long ago. So how does this then change the human being? I mean, my children, for example. My children, I have 3 girls, and my children, each one of them has an iPad or a device in the hand at any one time, okay? So that constant distraction there, unless they're at school, obviously, but when they come home, any spare time is spent on the iPad, on the iPhone, looking at YouTube, looking at videos, going on games, etc., wasting the time on that particular thing, okay? So by doing that, they take themselves out of the family social circle a little bit, okay? So when I make tea, when I make a meal, and it's like, come on now, tea time, you've got to come off your iPad, you've got to come off your phone. They really get agitated by that, because all they want to do is play on the iPad, all they want to do is play on the phone. Okay, so they would rather, given the choice, obviously I don't give them the choice, but given the choice, they would rather eat the dinner, eat the meal, away from the family, playing on the iPad still. Okay, that's what they'd rather do. Well, that takes us out of that nice social bonding that has held us together, like a nice social glue, if you like. It's kept us together, and it's made us the people we are. Okay, so people are changing, people are changing all the time. As time goes on, my children, this generation that's growing up now, will be a completely different generation than the generation that I grew up. Because I grew up making dens, playing with sticks, hitting trees with sticks, chasing people around the woods with a stick, playing army, whatever, hitting tree stumps with a stick randomly, whatever it is. Well, they don't have that. Okay, they don't even know what a stick is. Most of my kids don't even know what a stick is. So that's the difference. They're not in touch with nature as much as they once were. Human beings are away from that. They find it boring. They don't find it interesting. I took them on a walk about 2 weeks ago. We went up to Glossop, where I'm originally from. We took them up to Woodhead and places like that, and we take them walking in the woods, and they don't see it. They don't see the magic of that. They don't see the intrinsic value of taking a walk. Just doing nothing. Like, they've lost. My children in this generation that's growing up now, they've lost the ability to appreciate the simplest things, okay? Because they're so hooked and wired on this technology that they've lost something along the way, So in a way, I could argue technology is bad, okay, in that way. Okay, but technology is also good because obviously increases in medicine, increases life expectancy, etc., etc. You know, we all want to live long and live happy and live free, and technologies allow us to do that. You know, heart transplants, medicine, fighting against cancer, all that sort of stuff. But that raises another philosophical question, because what it does is, let's say we heal everybody, make everybody better. Okay, so life expectancy increases. So now you have a lot of more older people, a lot more spare time on their hands, playing on their iPads, playing with technology, whatever they're doing, if they like technology. A lot of old people don't, but let's say they do, right? They've got a lot more time on their hands, okay, and the world's population increases, okay. So let's just talk about my country, the United Kingdom in general, okay. 62 million people, 62 million people live in Britain, in the United Kingdom. That population will then increase, and then there's a knock-on effect from that population increase, okay. So, for example, the same amount of people being born, for example, let's say, so there's a population increase, which means that the roads and the motorways are completely chocker, completely rammed at the high peak times, like, you know, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, okay. So it takes me an hour and a half to get home. And a lot of older people that are retired and stuff know not to use the motorways and the roads at that time, because obviously it's dreadful traffic. But what happens is, it's basically a population increase means that the roads are completely rammed. Okay, the world's overpopulated. Okay, so we have to increase food resources. We have to people using more resources such as oil, fuel for the cars, etc., etc. So this increases a demand for this, okay, demand for these resources. So obviously farmers have to generate more crops, more fields are used to make more crops and make more food, etc., etc. So the knock-on effect of this population increase, okay, from this technology, okay, I'll ask the question: have we accounted for this? Have we accounted for this increase in population? Have we accounted for the increase in the need for food? Obviously there's going to be an increase in food with an increase in population, and what are the factors, what are the negative factors, okay, of this process? So any subject can be argued in both a positive and a negative way, okay. In religion, in theistic terms, they call this apophatic language, and they call it cataphatic language. Cataphatic being positive, talking about something in a positive way, such as a god, or etc., or apophatic, which is talking about some subject, usually to do with religion, in a negative way. Okay, so there's positive and negative way of terming something. Okay, so for example, the sun is great. It's heat, provides us with solar energy, keeps us our body temperatures at a reasonable fluctuation. The sun provides life on Earth, ecology systems, etc. But also the sun can be talked about in a bad way, in the sense that if you stay out in the sun too long, you'll get sunburn, you'll get possibility of skin cancer, etc., etc. So anything can be looked at in this way, and this relates back to the Yin and Yang philosophy of basically anything can be good or bad. Okay, so this is interesting. So this tells me, as a philosopher, it tells me that you should never make the assumption, people should never make the assumption that, one, they're right in their opinion, okay, and that their opinion is correct. Two, there is no such thing as a good thing and a bad thing, because they're actually a matter of opinion, and both can be argued both ways. Okay, and three, you really have to take a step back and really analyze the different parameters involved in what you're talking about. Okay, so even now I've talked about basic principles of things such as technology and the sun, etc. Okay, but there are many other underlying factors, okay, to consider. So, for example, let's consider our government. Okay, now my brother and his girlfriend came over to see me a few days ago, and we had a brew and a chat and catch up and all the rest of it, like we do human social behaviour. Anthropomorphic boxes. Okay, let's get together, let's have a brew, let's have a chat, a bit of catch up. Now my brother and his girlfriend said, "Did you vote?" So I said, "No, I didn't vote," because I don't see the point in it, because basically you're given a choice of, basically, in my opinion, shit, and more shit. Okay, they're your choices. And my brother said to me, no, you're wrong, because if you don't vote, it allows other people to vote for their party, and they will get in, so you won't have a say. Okay, so I said to him, well, what is my say? He said, right, well, look at it this way, right? David Cameron. And I said, I don't feel like David Cameron has done an awful lot, but I don't follow politics and I'm not massively involved in it in any way, shape or form. I said, I don't think David Cameron has done a lot for me personally, okay? If anything, he's not got involved in a lot of things, which is actually probably a good thing, because obviously you've got the law of when you get involved and you create events, creates more events. Okay, so it's better sometimes not to get involved in things, okay? So my brother said to me, yeah, but I know that by voting this Prime Minister in, or voting this new guy in, okay, UKIP or whatever he wanted to vote in, I will get a deduction in my tax, okay, so I've got money, I'll have more money, yeah, so I'll get this house that I want. At the moment, he's renting, he wants to buy a house. So he'll have more money to put the deposit down on the house, okay? Now, you can argue this in a few ways, okay? I could say to my brother, well, let's say that happens, let's say we all vote for this guy and he gets in and we all get a reduction in tax, okay? Number one, is the politician going to actually he's actually going to implement what he says he's going to do? Or is he just saying it? Okay, so he could get in power and he could not do anything. Or the decrease in tax would be so insignificant that it wasn't worth going out and voting that day, okay? Rather stay home and watch YouTube videos, okay? I could argue the fact that, okay, you get the money, that's fine. You get the money, you get the great. He keeps his word, and you get the big tax rebates, or you get a reduction in the tax that you pay. You're hardworking. My brother's a hardworking citizen, yeah. What are you going to do? You're going to buy the house, okay? You're going to buy the house. Then what are you going to do? Okay, you're going to get a nice car. He's got a nice motorbike already. He's already got a nice car. Okay, he's going to get another car, or he's going to get a better car or a better motorbike, etc. And he's going to have more fun. Whatever you class as fun, okay? He likes bikes, and that's what he likes. Then what are you going to do? Okay, so you've got your nice house, you've got your nice bike, your nice car, you've got your beautiful children. He's got beautiful children. He's got a girl and a boy, my nephew and niece, lovely children. So they're going to have a nice quality of life, nicer food, possibly nicer education if you've got a lot more money, etc., etc. If you, that's obviously another philosophical argument, but we'll come into that later in another video. So yeah, so then what are you going to do? Well, you're going to earn more money, aren't you? Because you know, as human beings, we think money is the be all and end all of everything. So, because we're under the illusion that money buys pleasure, okay? But what we don't realise is when we go on a shopping spree and we spend that money to alleviate some of the tension that's been derived from working so hard for that money, for that money, it's short-lived. So you'll go on a spending spree, you'll buy a few things, come back, and then the feeling of elation has gone, because you've lost the money and you end up with all this crap in your house, okay? Which you eventually take to the tip, by the way, when you've fed up with the crap, okay? So we earn money, we think money's a be all and end all, to buy a nice house and buy nice things and nice toys and all the rest of it, and then ultimately those things end up in the tip, okay? They end up in the rubbish tip, because that's why we have tips in it, so we can take the rubbish to there. Okay, so as a philosopher, I look at this cycle that goes round and round until we die, or until we retire, or whatever we do. And even when we retire, we still buy shit. But let's say we go with this cycle, and I think to myself, is this it? Is this all that life pretty much is it? Yeah, because I mean, I've got a nice house. I've got a lovely house. I've got a nice 5-bedroom house. I've got a nice car. We've got 2 cars. I work hard. My wife works hard. And I update my car from time to time and get a new car. And the novelty wears off after 1 week, but yeah, you go, or maybe a few days, if I'm being honest with myself. My kids are all beautiful kids, and they have a nice education. Everything. I mean, you can't ask for more than that, right? So, but then what then? What are you going to do? Educate yourself. You know, go to university, and that's what I'm doing. I'm educating myself in philosophy and science, and that's what I do. Okay, so I'm educating myself. Then what do I do? Okay, you know, become a teacher, become a lecturer, whatever you want to do. Yeah, you go and work as a doctor, whatever standard of education you want to meet. They say you've got to meet for that particular job. You go and work in that. Okay. Then what do? You get to 45, 50, and you look back over your life and you think, this is a bit crazy. And all I've done is earn money and bought things and educate myself, and then what do you do? So what's it all about? You know, and then you die of a heart attack at 58. But what's it all about? What do you actually do? What's the plan? Is it just this cycle that goes round and round? Are you happy with this cycle? Are you happy with your lot? Should I just be content with that? Because obviously other people in other countries don't have anything, they don't have a pot to piss in, they don't have shoes, etc. Should I be content with that? I don't know. So yeah, these are things I ask myself. I think to myself, so we're all in this cycle together. We're all going round and round and round and round. And we have kids. We produce kids who will go on and carry on with the cycle. And what's it all about? You know, what's the hidden thing behind it? And then you look to religion, and you look at the Christian religion, you look at Hinduism, and you think you want to develop yourself on a spiritual level. So you meditate and you do all the things like that, and you find out which religions suit you and which religions you don't agree with, etc., etc. And I've done this. I've looked at religions, I've looked at different various things, and I've studied demonology. As you know, previous videos I've looked at demonology, and I've looked at ghosts and witches and all sorts of stuff. Very interesting. And from everything that I've learned and everything that I've seen, one of the religions that strikes me as quite interesting is the Buddhist religion. Now, the Buddhist religion, they believe in a lot of different things, and it gets a bit esoteric, but what they actually believe in is they believe in a kind of, that there is this cycle that goes round and round, and they believe that if there is a God, not a creator as such, but a sort of presence, if you like, not an anthropomorphic God, not a guy in the sky with a big cigar and a big beard, but they believe in this presence that sort of underlies each human being. Okay, and the God is sort of playing his role through us, so he's enjoying himself, and life is a play, basically. Okay, and this was interesting for me. And they believe that you do go around on this cycle, and you go around on the merry-go-round, but then there is a way of breaking the cycle through what they call satori, or through an awakening or an enlightenment through being a Buddha or a Hindu. The Hindus also believe a certain branch of this and a certain type of this theory. And you break the cycle, and you come out of it, and you're free. Because if you don't break the cycle, what happens is when you die, you kind of reincarnated as another being, whether it be, you know, a fly, a dog, an animal, another human, whatever. You become reincarnated, and it carries on in this cycle until you decide to break the cycle, until you make a realization that there's something else. Okay, and this is really interesting for me. And even from a scientific point of view, you know, you might say this is a load of bollocks and it means nothing. Okay, but even from a scientific point of view, if you take a microscope, or say you take any object and you look at it under a microscope, the object is obviously it's waves or particles, as we know in science, but it makes up patterns. Okay, so you look at a piece of wood, and you look at the grains in the wood and the molecular structure of wood, it's just a series of patterns. And that's essentially what everything is. So human beings are patterns. When we dance, when we go to work, we're going through these different types of dances and patterns, and we're creating these patterns and energy. All kind of like one force together. If you was a UFO looking out onto the earth, and you looked at us, you'd probably see like a massive, like an ink blot, and then during the daytime, this ink blot sort of like stretched out into branches, and it would go to its jobs, and it would go and do whatever it does, and then at night time it would shrink back into the blob, or the different various blobs. Okay, and it would all work as like one unit. So we have this like unity, you know, which obviously refers back to the Yin and Yang symbol, because the two halves of the circle are complete within the circle, and there's like a unity there. So amongst human beings and all animals and all animal systems, such as the bee and the flower, etc., they all have this unity of systems. So you can't have one without the other, going back to the theory of the Yin and Yang. So with humans, for example, you have to have the earthly environment. And it can be deceiving at times, because we can move from environment to environment, from a desert to a snowy environment to a deciduous environment, you know, woods, trees, etc. And we can move environments, and this is, but we're the same as the tree, you know, we're the same as the plants. You know, the tree is rooted to the ground, which is different than us, but the tree still needs the earth to reproduce other trees and other plants, and flowers need the soil and need the earth to produce other flowers. And we're the same as them in a way, because we are the same as them, because from my point of view, because we need nature, we need the earth to reproduce. Okay, so we couldn't, if we go to visit the moon, or we go off this planet, we take a canned version or a contained version of the earth with us, the right oxygen, the right atmosphere, etc. So we are tied in. So you could say Mother Nature, being part of Mother Nature from a sort of pagan look at it. We are part of Mother Nature, and from pantheism expresses the unity of all things and the divinity of God within all things. So if I do believe in God, from my philosophical point of view, if I do believe in God, I believe what the Buddhists believe, which is that God is within all of us, because we make everything around us. Okay, so here's an interesting theory for you. Here's an interesting thought. Your eyes detect light from the sun that reflects off all objects, refraction and all the rest of it. Okay, so you create the objects in front of you, because without your eyes there'd be no light in the world, there'd be no sun. You wouldn't see the sun, would you? So you wouldn't create light out of the darkness. So your eyes make the objects around you. Okay, the same as your ears hear the sounds, which are essentially waves. Hear the sounds around you. So you take sound out of the air, the different sounds, such as the street traffic or music or whatever the sounds are, people talking, and your ear creates that and interprets it via your brain and messaging, etc. So in a way, you sort of like conjure the world around you. Now this gets pretty deep, because that's like saying that the whole world, the colours of this room, everything, is within my spine and my brain, my spinal cord, my senses, my brain. Everything is created through me. So without my spinal cord, without my eyes, without my taste, touch, smell, etc., there is no world, is there? There's nothing. So that's an interesting theory for you, because perhaps that, let's say for example we take the Buddhist look at it and we say that God is within all of us. Okay? God is playing us a bit like a puppet, but we have free will. Okay? So we can control what we do. God is just watching like a spectator that sits in the background and watches what we do. We, through God, or through something within us, let's say, we are creating the environment and creating the world around us. Okay? Because without our senses, there wouldn't actually be anything, would there? Or let's say you take a blind person. Well, the sun's actually there, but the blind person doesn't know that the sun's there, in the sense that they can't see light, they just see black. But a blind person is so used to that that they won't ask any questions. But if everybody in the world was blind, everybody would just see total darkness, wouldn't they? And maybe we'd feel the warmth of the sun or whatever, but we wouldn't know the sun was the sun, because we don't have any eyes to see the sun, would we? We wouldn't know it was a big ball of burning gas, would we? Big ball of burning heat. Because we won't have any eyes to see it. So in a way, one could argue that we create and we conjure the environment around us. Now here's another interesting philosophical concept for you. Does anything really matter? You hear my wife, and you hear other women, and not just women, guys as well. We hear people bitching about other people, saying this and that, and say, you know, this person, blah, 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 and this person hasn't got a nicer dress as me, or whatever the thing is that they're bitching about. Does it really matter? Because in 100 years, 200 years, whatever, or 50 years, whatever, it's not going to matter, is it? The whole thing, it doesn't matter, because we're going in the ground, aren't we? We're going to return to the earth, and we're going to get eaten by worms, and we're going to return to the soil. So that conversation doesn't matter, does it? When you think something on a big scale, nothing really matters. I mean, you know, the existence of humans, we could argue, is important. We need to go on and have kids and reproduce and all the rest of it. But so what? So they can reproduce and do the same thing. So the whole life game that we play, that we seem is so important to us, the little things in our life that we worry about, are not really that important when you take a step back. Excuse me. When you take a step back and you realise the vastness of the world and the universe. Our little everyday, ooh, check her out, she's not nice, or I can't believe that guy did that, can you believe that guy did that? It's just basically, it's bullshit. It's just all bullshit, isn't it? Everything is bullshit. Everything in terms of what we seem is important, that's our egotistical, that's not our true us as a human being organism, that's our egotistical mask that we put on, which I've spoke about in other videos. And a lot of other philosophers have spoke about this as well, where we have this mask and it's not really us, and we don't really know who we are. You know, we just have this mask that we've grown up with and we've been told who we are, and that mask is then projected onto other people. But if you take a step back and you realise that your ego and your image that you put on of yourself, like I'm doing for this video now, is not important, and it's not essentially the real you, then you realise it's all bullshit. Everything's bullshit. So then you might say, well, if it's bullshit, I might as well just commit suicide. I might as well kill myself now. Well, what game do you want to play? You know, this is our game. You know, we're in our little bit of time we've got from being born, from maternity ward to the crematorium. we've got this little bit of time in between where we have a little bit of fun and then we carry on. And what do you want to do? What sort of game do you want to play? It's up to you. But remember that it is not serious. It's not a serious game, because ultimately we end up in the ground, so it doesn't really matter. Nothing actually matters. Your achievements, your certificates, your job, your status, your house, your car. I mean, you know, you could argue that a man has a house for comfort and it's a place to reconcile himself and read books and educate himself, whatever. Okay, so you need the house, or you would like the house. It's better than living in a cardboard box on the street or living in the woods, right? More comfortable. Okay. But you don't need the fancy car. You know, you don't need that. You don't need the natural things that we have in our environment. We don't need the technology. The technology is there. It has a good purpose in the way we can communicate with each other. We can stay in touch. You know, we like to stay in touch as human beings. All that sort of thing. But I do put it to you. Have a think about it. I mean, what is important as a human being? What is important to you? Because I know what's important to me. I mean, my family, my children are important to me. Okay. But when you think about it, yin and yang, are they important? Are they really that important? Because my children, all my children are going to do is repeat what I've done in a similar sense. Obviously slightly different, but they will have children and carry on, and it will carry on. And somebody down the line might say, "Oh, I remember Mad Maestro. He was a crazy guy who questioned everything, but he should have just gone with his life. Just go and do something, you know. Go and do something like normal people do." But so what? In 1,000 years, will it matter? In 2,000 years, will it matter? In 2,000 years, will the Earth still even be here? I mean, the Earth will still be here, but in what shape or form? Well, possibly, we don't know. But let's say the Earth's still here in 2,000 years. What sort of shape or form and direction will it have headed? Will it have gone? Will it have gone for good? Will it have gone for bad? You know, some people argue the for and against arguments. But yeah, I just put it to you that maybe when you're worried about those little things in your life that worry so much, such as is that parcel coming today? I hope it comes. I need that parcel. I need it. Do you? Do you really need the parcel? Because all you're going to do with it is play with it for a bit and either sell it on, or you're going to put it in the cupboard. And that's it. Or you're going to take it to the tip eventually. So yeah, the contents of that parcel might not matter that much in actual fact. So yeah, you can argue anything from a certain standpoint. But I hope I've given you an insight into the Yin and Yang principle in the universe. And this is prominent in Eastern philosophy, and especially Buddhism and Hinduism, in the sense of it gives the philosopher as well a way of looking at two sides to the argument. Or there's actually more than two sides, but as a basic explicit view, we can look at two sides of the story. But remembering also that those are implicit; they are the same. Okay, so there's a unity within people. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and if you have any questions, leave a comment.